Russian tanks entered the port town of Kherson, a provincial capital of around 250,000 people, and Russian forces occupied the regional administration building, Regional Governor Hennadiy Laguta said in an online post. "They're still fighting there, so we're not ready to call it one way or another," the official said, adding that the situation on the ground was changing quickly. If Kherson were to be captured, it would be the first significant urban center to fall into the hands of Russian troops. AP reporters in Kyiv heard at least one overnight explosion before videos started circulating online of apparent strikes on the city, though targets were not immediately clear. Kyiv's mayor said the explosions were missiles being shot down by Ukraine's air defense systems. Ukrainian authorities said Russian troops entered the southern city of Hennadiy, a major energy hub on the Dnieper River in southern Ukraine, that is the site of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, and that accounts for about 1/4 of the country's power generation. The mayor said Ukrainian and Russian forces were battling for control of the city. Shelling was reported in the northern city of Chernihiv, where Ukrainian emergency officials said at least 33 civilians and 18 were wounded in a Russian bombardment of a residential area. They said the search of the rubble for additional casualties was suspended because shelling resumed. The European Union is seeing signs on social media that Russia could introduce martial law in the country after its invasion of Ukraine, an EU official said on Thursday. Leaders of the Quad grouping of countries, the US, India, Australia and Japan, discussed on Friday, the ongoing Ukraine crisis, and agreed to a new humanitarian assistance and disaster relief mechanism. They agreed to stand up a new humanitarian assistance and disaster relief mechanism, which will enable the Quad to meet future humanitarian challenges in the Indo-Pacific and provide a channel for communication, as they each address and respond to the crisis in Ukraine, the White House said in a statement. Russian and Ukrainian negotiators met again, and Kyiv said it would call for a ceasefire and humanitarian corridors to evacuate its besieged citizens, as the war entered its second week with Ukrainian cities surrounded and under bombardment. Humanitarian supplies could be delivered though the corridors, which were the Ukrainians' main demand heading into their second round of negotiations in Belarus, in the Brest region that borders Poland. Russian President Vladimir Putin also announced the safe zones. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the two countries could find a way out of the war if the Kremlin treated Ukraine on an equal footing and came to talks with a will to negotiate in good faith. There are things in which some compromises must be found so that people do not die, but there are things in which there are no compromises, he said in a televised interview, saying he was willing to have an open conversation with Putin. Moldovan President Maya Sandu signed a formal application for her country to join the European Union on Thursday, charting a pro-Western course hastened by Russia's invasion of neighboring Ukraine. Sandu's move comes days after Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a request for immediate EU membership as it battles invading Russian forces. Moscow is fiercely opposed to the eastern expansion of both the EU and especially of NATO, which it sees as a direct threat to its own national security. Sandu, the Prime Minister and the Parliamentary Speaker all signed the document during a briefing in the capital Chisinau, where pro-Russian and pro-EU politicians have vied for control since Moldova won independence from the Soviet Union in 1991. It took 30 years for Moldova to reach maturity, but today the country is ready to take responsibility for its own future, said Sandu, before holding up the signed document to the television cameras. Moldova's President Maya Sandu poses for photographers prior to a meeting with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. AP